Hi, this is Deborah. Welcome back to my podcast, Neuroscience for Success. I am absolutely thrilled to have you join me and my co-host, Richard Daniel Curtis. This is our third episode, and yeah, and we've got some amazing content for you today. I'm absolutely so grateful to be able to do this. I nipped out and got a cup of tea. I'm in LA, so it's morning here, and it's late afternoon there for Richard in the UK. And I popped out and I got a cup of tea, and I was walking back, preparing mentally for this podcast, and I was just thinking how absolutely blessed that I am to be able to do this with you, Richard, and for all of our viewers and all of the people around the world that can benefit. As I went through my own journey, I had to kind of piece it together and find people that could guide me and find information that I could use as a toolbox to up-level my game, and then of course work with my clients. And I often think that if someone would have just laid it out straight for me the way we are on this vlog for our viewers, that I probably could have scaled a lot faster. So this is great. So welcome and thank you for joining me today. How was your day?
My day's been absolutely, it's going to be fantastic. I haven't actually achieved really anything that was on my, every morning I set myself a to-do list, and I have maybe 5 or 6 at most things that I'm going to achieve that day. And I haven't actually achieved one thing off my to-do list today. However, I've had an amazing day. I've had 2 books, like my latest 2 books have been published, and so
Congratulations.
thank you very much. Thank you. So The Parent's Guide to the Modern World, or The Young Person's Guide to the Modern World, available on Amazon and all good, retailers around the world. It's certainly got a US UK release today. So do hop on out and buy it now. Very seriously, I've been dealing with the social media. I've been dealing with just doing some blogs about it, just sharing all of that. And so it's been really interesting. It's been a little bit of a reactive day, but it's great fun. I love some, times like this. It's a time of celebration. It's a time to actually just enjoy being in the moment. And no, I haven't achieved what I wanted to do this morning, but I've had a really good day and it's been great fun.
Absolutely. You said something in our previous podcast in episode 2 that I wanted to take a little further for our viewers today. I didn't get a chance to comment on it when we were recording because we were off, on some other topic. But something very powerful you said when you mentioned that there was points in your career and in your business growth where you've been down to like your last 5 pounds, right? And I wanted to tell you that there was one time not long ago, like a few years ago, I got hired to facilitate an executive roundtable in Copenhagen for the offshore wind energy industry. And it just all came together kind of miraculously. And there really wasn't time for them to wire over my speaking fee, and it was waiting for me when I got there. But I literally got on the airplane with like €5 to my name because everything I had in the bank was spoken for. It was month end, and anything could go wrong, but everything can go right, and that was my attitude. And I just got on the plane and away I went. So what was interesting is I wasn't able to negotiate those funds that until I got back home. So I was there in Europe for 2.5 weeks, and I made money on the road. I just got online and started working my LinkedIn and my database and putting out emails, and I generated more than enough cash to be able to do my trip and make all my meetings and really have a good time. So it's powerful, it's when you're at that crossroads and you realize that it's not so much what you have in front of you, it's how you feel, right? Because you said in our last podcast, when you gave that 5 pounds away, that so-called last 5 pounds of yours, that you, and you gave it to a homeless fellow, that was the most abundant feeling. Like you were feeling so abundant at that time in your life. And that's where I wanted to pick up this podcast from, is that it's all about the feeling. You know, we can have anything good or bad happen in our lives, like as an experience or a circumstance, but how you feel about you and how you feel about your life is actually going to be the determining factor as to how your experiences play out.
And it's so and it's interesting because the thing for me is that's so influenced by your belief system, and your value in your belief system comes from the things that you've experienced in the past, the things that you've seen in the past, things that you've inherited from your parents, from your grandparents, and things like that. Now, this particularly sort of my story of giving away the last £5 to a homeless person, I never saw them. All I saw was their tent. I left the £5. I wrote on the £5 note, a gift from a friend, use it wisely, and I left it on their sleeping bag in their tent in this park. I have no idea to this day who it was, who this person was, what they looked like, or anything like that. I just pray that that he used it wisely. Now, it was really symbolic for me because I've come from, and I'm sure many listeners will recognise this. I've come from a background where my parents were raised in the post-war era and were very frugal.
Sure.
It was very important for them to actually to make sure that you ate everything on your plate, for example, because you've only got you've only got this amount of food, so therefore you have to eat it because you don't want to waste it. So a very frugal attitude. Likewise, the same with money. Who are you to give away money when actually you if it's your last money, then surely you need to save it and eke it out, and and hold it close to you, hold it tight, and all the rest of it. Now, actually, that was very much their attitude, and I've discussed this with my family and with my parents, and it's part and parcel of my journey. But I'm not controlled by what's happened in their lives, by their beliefs, by the way that they were raised. I'm controlled by my beliefs and by my values. And my values are very much about being in flow and about abundance, about giving. Because the more I give, then the more I receive.
And that's the basis for this vlog or this podcast, is just to give and to be able to share everything that we've learned along our paths so that our viewers can benefit. And maybe they don't have to go through the experiences that we've gone through. We can help them sort of short circuit that and leapfrog through into the next higher level of consciousness. Because what you're talking about is making choices. Life is about choices. How we feel is a choice. How we think is a choice. And, belief systems, well, let me unpack those right back to the actual belief itself. So from a neuroscience perspective, and I have to bring this into the mix. From a neuroscience perspective, beliefs or even thought patterns, they're just an algorithm. They're not real. I love that bumper sticker that says, be careful, don't believe what you think. Be careful, don't believe what you think. Because it's so true. It's we're so subjective as human beings, and we become like our environments. And our parents did the best they could with the resources that they had, but we don't have to take that on. No. And those beliefs, those thoughts are just algorithms that get passed down. They're like a neurological process or patterns that you don't have to buy into. And a belief. Right? A belief is just a thought that you think over and over and over, and then it develops into a system. Think about how you do the washing up, for example, after dinner. You have a system to how you clean your kitchen and how you do the washing up, right? Well, thoughts about money, love, health, and we were talking about that yesterday after the podcast. that, you know, your thoughts are what really determine everything. So if you're not feeling good about you, then you know that your thoughts are negative. And all you have to do is go switch your thinking, and that feeling will change. We are all the master of our own reality, and those belief systems don't have to be ours.
Yeah, because your brain is not hardwired. This is the thing, and this is the thing that we've learned more and more about over the last few years. Your brain and your mind are two different things. Your brain
Thank you.
is the physical brain, is the physical, object in your head. Your
It's here,
mind is,
right? It's here. Yeah.
yeah, your mind is your beliefs, is your thoughts, is your processes. Now they are not fixed. We used to say, oh well, the things became fixed. We used to believe that things became fixed during teenage years, but actually we know because of plasticity that you can learn new values, you can learn new beliefs, you can learn new skills throughout your adulthood. It may take you longer than it would do a young person, but it's still possible. You can still overcome that. You can still change that. I certainly, over the last 5 to 10 years, that's what I've seen in my life, is a huge, almost, is a rewiring of my brain. And I'm
Yeah.
sure your story is the same.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So on the brain thing, like it's just a receiver and a transmitter, but not just a receiver transmitter. It's a powerful, my favorite, like I love to get into the brain syndicate where the pineal, the pituitary, and the hippocampus is where we create our thought patterns from, and
Yep.
actually use visualization exercises to get in there and rev up their ability to fire, because poor diet, lack of fresh air, and negative thinking can cause the brain syndicate to calcify. And it's like spark plugs that have in your car that have been built up with, chemicals, they don't fire as well, and you need to replace those spark plugs. Well, you can't replace your brain syndicate, but you can definitely tune it up. And there's so much we can do for ourselves that we didn't know that we could do. You nailed it when you said that we have access to so much information now. Because I remember when I started down this path of self-development, I couldn't even get the books I wanted without going to a friend of mine that was a psychologist and having them get them for me.
Yeah.
And now the self-help section in a bookstore, if you can find a bookstore, right, is enormous. And then there's all the online programs. But I wanted to ask you a question, because I think this is really going to be a really powerful point of discussion for us. Did you find that when you made the decision to start automating your business and step out of the old industrial age thinking of onesie twosie sales, got to always be physically in front of the client, it has to look like this, when you decided to automate your business and step out of that business model, did you observe that your entire reality began to shift, your relationship with you? Did you have like this really profound, almost prolific kind of light bulb happen?
I suspect that my journey is a little bit more different, because actually I've almost set up my company, my team, my business right from the start to be as automated as I could.
Yeah, but
Um,
in our last podcast, you
yeah,
said you spent the last year automating your business. And so what I'm trying to get to is,
yeah,
when you made that decision to make that shift,
yeah.
share with our listeners what took place within you
I had
and
to
how
let go.
it changed.
I had to let go of myself. That's that's the big thing. I would say certainly over the last year is, what you want to do is set up systems, set up procedures so that other people can do things half as good as you, or technology can automate something for you, no one's ever going to do something as well as you are going to do.
Yeah.
However, if you insist on doing everything yourself, you're only going to be able to work with a tiny amount of people. If I, for me to want to, and for me to want to influence thousands of lives and millions of lives around the globe, then actually I have to have other people doing, learning from stuff that I've written, from stuff that I've developed that I'm not necessarily in control of. An example would be, for every person that my team train at the mentoring school, we also train a volunteer working with refugees in a refugee camp somewhere. Now, we don't physically have the resources to go out there and to physically train them, but we've arranged for them to be able to access e-learning through facilitators, through technology, so that it's just as powerful for them. They're still accessing that, and it's helping them with the work that they do, the volunteering that they're doing with refugees. Now, if I had remained closed in my own view of myself, that never would have happened.
Yes, and that's, so thank you for that, because that's the point that I'm looking to drive home here for our viewers is, and that, by the way, that's phenomenal what you're doing with the training for the folks in the refugee camps. Powerful, powerful. Talk about being a game changer. What I'm seeking to drive home as a point here is our neurology, how your bandwidth on your ability to perceive and allow in greater experiences, more wealth, more abundance, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. When we make a decision from a neuroscience perspective, when we make a decision to let go, like you said it, I had to let go of myself.
Yeah.
We are raised in environments that teach us that we are a certain way. And it's human nature to accept that. You know, we come in as little kids, 0 to 7, imprint years. Yeah. We're going through this process. It's like, you know, it's like putting a stamp on paper. You know, you put a stamp on, you know, if you take those, like you get those little punch cards, you know, when you go for a juice, and some of them don't punch through the paper, they just put a stamp on it and you can feel it. It's almost like Braille, you know, you can feel it. That's what happens to our neurology as children. Our parents, our teachers, our ministers, our schools, our babysitters, our nannies, everything puts that stamp on and creates that imprint in our psychology. And then we go about the business of living that out for the rest of our lives, thinking that that's all there is. And then there comes a day, like you've made that decision, I've made that decision, a lot of our viewers have made that decision, a lot of people are rolling up to that decision. There comes a day when you make a decision that you are so much more than your current experiences. And the only way you're going to allow in everything that's been sitting outside of this wall that you've created around you with your belief systems is to let go. It's just to let go. You don't even have to effort. You don't even have to say, okay, I want this instead. Like, you don't even have to do that. It's so simple. All you have to do is let go.
Yeah.
And then, boom, it all starts to roll through the door, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
That's the point I wanted to make. And then all the other stuff is just logistics.
Yeah, exactly. Let go of your past. That's the one thing that I'd want people to take away from this conversation. Let go of your past. It doesn't control who you are in the future.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes, you know, our fear can disguise itself as intuition.
Yeah.
Our fear can disguise itself as a protector. And it can convince us that it really has our best interests at heart. In fact, I used to do this process when I worked with individual clients back in the day called a parts integration. And the hypothesis is that, we come in whole and then we get all this programming and conditioning thrown at us. And sometimes it's traumatic and sometimes, it's painful and there's, different things that take place that are kind of shocking. So we have a tendency to fragment. And so we have parts of us that end up actually working against one another. So we might have one part that is all about achieving the next level of success, or maybe it's about getting married, or maybe it's about having a child or going to school or whatever. Part that says you can never be wealthy, you can't get married because your parents got divorced.
You're always
if you have a child, right? If you have a child, you'll lose all your freedom, like whatever. So we have these contradictory parts. And so I used to do this technique where we would teach people how to integrate those parts. But for the point of this discussion that I'm wanting to make is that what I always found in this process is both parts had the best interests at heart for the person. So even the part that was steeped in fear and doubt did want the best for that person, as much as the part that was after the wealth and the love and the whatever. So the point I want to make with that is, as our viewers, the strong words, know thyself, right? When you learn the difference when you go into your own heart and you learn the difference between the fear and the positivity, you don't let the fear disguise itself as a protector. That's the key.
Excellent. And that brings us to time today.
It goes so fast.
I know, doesn't it just? But as always,
go.
I was gonna say, as always, a great conversation, and just having this conversation with you always, I don't know about you, but it always helps to move. I feel it moves us forward and just sparks off different things, as we continue through these blogs.
Yeah, and you know how much I appreciate you, Richard, and I appreciate very much. We appreciate our viewers, and so we'd like to know what you would like to have us cover. We're very, very open. I mean, both of us have, between the two of us, we probably have 1,000 years of experience that we can bring to the table in terms of knowledge and tools and skills and wisdom. But we'd like to know what you'd like to know. And we'd also like to know if you would like a longer vlog. I mean, we're thinking that if we keep it to 15 minutes, that's what we figure people can tune in for before they need to move on to the next thing. So you tell us, and we'll just take that into consideration. So thank you, Richard, so much. Have a blessed day, evening. And till next time, we're rolling up on episode 4 real soon here.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.